Hello, my friends. Hello, hello. How are you? Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. My name is Jason. This is the Outstanding Life Show. And here we talk about everything that's related to mindfulness. We talk about recovery, we talk about addiction, we talk about overcoming adversity, and we take a different kind of approach to it. We take an approach that's inclusive, and I almost want to say we take a mindset of we're trying to remove some of the stigma that comes along with addiction when it comes with somebody who's on the struggle or having their own challenges. There's a lot of stressors out there, and there's a lot of anxiety, and there I almost want to dig into triggers where it's such a sensitive topic with triggers, and I want to go deep into it, but I don't think that we're going to save that one for a little bit later when it comes to triggers. We've talked so far, just to recap, we've been going live for quite some time. We've been recording the audio for I want to say about a week now, a little over a week, and we're having fun. We're taking the challenge of National Podcast Month, and we're taking the audio from the Facebook Live videos and then and YouTube, and we're sharing that in a podcast form. So that's a new adventure for me. That's getting me out of my comfort zone. And every day I'm doing something new, and I'm trying something different. And every day I'm learning, and every day I'm pushing the boundaries, if you will. It's exciting for me. It's challenging for me because it's something I'm not normally used to doing. But I'm open to feedback, and I'm open to learning and listening. And there's been a few of you that reached out to me to let me know what your thoughts are, and I really appreciate that. And I wanted to take a minute and celebrate you, my community, because it really wouldn't be all for nothing. Hearing some of the positive feedback, hearing how some of you reach out, just let me know you're doing okay, or to let me know you're in a rough spot. Like these are very challenging times, and some are more impacted by than others, but we're all struggling in our own way. And in a past episode, we talked about having empathy for ourselves and empathy for another person. We talked about the hungry, angry, lonely, and tired, the acronym of HALT. And we talked about how those, looking after those, spending most of my time preemptively not avoiding hunger, but if I'm taking steps to ensure I'm not going to be hungry later, if I take steps to ensure I'm making myself tired so that I'm going to get enough sleep for tomorrow, if I put the effort into making sure I'm not feeling lonely by reaching out to you, my family, my friends, staying connected and rejuvenating my batteries, recharging me when I need it, so that I can then turn around and help recharge others. If I'm pushing myself to the point or to the brink, I don't want to say of extinction, but if I'm running low and I'm running on E and I'm pushing myself and I'm running out of juice, I'm not going to be able and willing to help others. And when it comes to a mental health, when it comes to 2020, there's no better buzzword than making sure we're looking out for our mental health. And those are strategies to help once we've made the decision that this is something we want. And when I say something we want, is the name of the show is the Outstanding Life Show. And we take a different approach, but there's no one solution for anything. So mental health for you might look very different than mental health for me. It's not meant to be, here's the, I've taken some of these mental health courses where some of the other students in there are, they've been sent by their businesses and their other companies, and they're, go get mental health and come back and just make sure we got that checklist. We've sent someone to go and learn about mental health. And it's a very unique approach. So what triggers you may not be the same triggers for me. The same anxiety for you is not the same anxiety for me. And in the previous episode, we talked about having empathy and how those having empathy for ourselves and empathy for another person doesn't necessarily mean that we agree with that person or that thought, but it's that we're recognizing that there's an emotion. We recognize that there's another person that's in this conversation and that person has feelings. So if I'm empathetic towards something, I can be empathetic to myself. I can be empathetic to another person and their struggles. I don't want to say I can't imbue that on somebody else. But if I set a good example by offering that empathy, by offering that part of me first, in hopes that there's enough of it going around that I can share and help guide that conversation, that maybe the other person will offer that empathy in return. I can't demand it. And it's kind of the opposite of what empathy is. I'm not here to force empathy out, and I don't want to, what's the word? I don't want to be guile. I don't want to construct empathy. I don't want to demand empathy. It's something that must be given. It's kind of like respect. It must be earned. It must be cultivated. We've talked before in another episode about having a solid community. And in that community, we can help support each other. We can help lift each other up. And if we have a surrounding of support, and if everywhere we turn, we've got an A-team, and in that A-team, we can confide in the other person and we can rely on the other person. We can open up and be honest, not just with ourselves, but with that other person. Having that sense of accountability, be it having a sponsor or having a sponsee, or even if it's going to, one of my friends, she was saying she really enjoys this one specific meeting. She loves going to this meeting. And all the power to her. Whatever floats your boat, whatever motivates you to keep you going, whatever charges your batteries. The main thing is that in these communities, we offer nothing but support. We offer a sense of, I don't want to say understanding, that's not the right verb. That's not the right adjective. That's not the right synonym. I'm not able to articulate this, but it's a sense of care. It's almost even a sense of wonder, where in these communities, I can go to a different meeting I can go to the same meeting on a different day and have a totally different experience. I've gone to closed member meetings where the only people allowed into the meeting are people or somebody who's on the struggle, somebody who's actively the one in the program. That's a nice way to put it. And then there's open meetings, and open meetings just at a high level, like open meetings are meant for, it's just an open conversation. You don't have to be in the program. You don't have to be the person who's struggling, but it's an open conversation. So there's a lot of great conversations that are had there. It's in each of these meetings, they're a safe place. Each of these meetings has a different, I almost want to say, contribution towards the community. But these are all high-level topics about past episodes, and these all add up to having a sense of balance. We haven't covered all the topics yet. We're adding one today. But when it comes to having that supportive community, having the A-team in your corner, that helps offer some reassurance on the back end, on the back burner, where no matter what else happens, you've got that group that you're always going to go to. It might be Wednesday night and I might be struggling, but I know that come Thursday morning or Thursday at noon or Friday evening, I know there's that meeting at 6. And so that gives me some sort of a hope to look forward to, that I know I'm going to have a support. I know I'm going to have someone I can reach out to. And then there's always phone. You can always phone somebody. You can get the text messages and the SOS messages. There's times where I've been on the receiving end. Jason, I'm having a bad day. Or Jason, hey, I just want to reach out and let you know I'm thinking about you. So there's lots of great support that can come from a community. We've talked before about setting good habits and getting rid of old ones, and having a sense of accountability. Each of these by themselves can't solve that alcoholic mind, and there's no way to absolve it or remove it or to wave a magic wand and stop it. I had one of my friends, I love her to pieces, but she reached out and we were just having a conversation, and we were at work, and she was saying, Jason, have you ever got to the point where, you've put in enough time, you've got a lot of recovery under your belt. Do you ever think you can just have, will you ever get to the point where you can just have one drink? it's only one drink. You can do it, right? And she wasn't coming from a tempting standpoint. She wasn't coming from a negative mindset in her world, in a normal person's world. But when I say normal, I mean somebody who's not been impacted by, I almost want to call it the claws of addiction, where they've never experienced that loss, or they've never had that person so close to their life where, they've almost lost everything. And so when she was coming from her perspective, in a normal world, it's okay for her to have a drink. And for her, that might be the solution. That might be the answer. I'm not knocking that. But when she was offering that invite to me, to be like, have you ever got to the point where you can just have a drink? Do you ever know that, after a couple of years, you'll be fine. You're good. I mean, you made it a couple, right? And I was trying to rephrase it in my head about she's coming from a good place, but no, I'm not at the place where I can have a drink. I'm not at that place where even, what is it, a thimble, even a thimbleful, that's too much. Another one of my friends, she goes, I love her to pieces. I keep saying that. I love her to pieces. But I have another friend who, she's okay, and she celebrates her milestones from how long it's been since I've been hungover. And I really admire that. I really admire that it doesn't have to be, I don't want to call it cut and dry. It doesn't have to be cold turkey. I put it in contrast to imagine if it was, you were in a relationship and you're celebrating the last time you felt, I don't want to call it a whole and complete person, but you didn't rely complete dependence on somebody else. And so we're navigating through these topics, and we're navigating from these different perspectives where, as somebody that's in active addiction, was it yesterday we talked about buzzwords in recovery? That was a fun one. I really like that one. But from my perspective of somebody that's in recovery, someone who's suffered from addiction, someone who's 8 years clean and sober, the same solution for you isn't the same solution for me, and the challenges we experience. We've talked before about reframing our experiences into some other outcome where we have another choice, where we can choose a new fate. As much as these are amazing to say, it's hard for somebody not in the program to, I don't want to say identify, or it's almost too much for me to ask of them to support me in a way that only people in recovery could support me. It would be hard for me to find someone that's normal and try and grasp them to understand what I've been through, or the sacrifices we made, or the poor choices we made. From their perspective, it just might be, from an objective point of view, I can see how it would be, it looks like Jason just had one bad experience after another. The challenge they don't see is the culpable, or the willingness, or the alcoholic brain, where I knew what was going to happen and I still planned around it, or I budgeted my time, or I knew exactly what to say to my ex-girlfriend at the time, and I knew she would respond in such a way that we would have an argument, and then I would use that argument to go out and get drunk. And it was no good ever came from that. No good ever came from that alcoholic brain or mind. And I can't ask somebody to understand when it's almost, I don't want to call it beyond, that's not the answer, but they're curious and they're inquisitive. Like my friend asking me about you can have one drink, right? Yeah, you're normal now. I know after 2 years you're considered normal. I appreciate the candor, but there is no one drink for me. I can't have just one. It's not like a Pringles or Lay's chips. But you can't have just one. No, I'm not able to have one. I'm not able to have any. What happens is, if we run through that, my friend Al, he was at the treatment center, and he's a great counselor, and he's an amazing inspiration to me. And I look up to Al, and he would always say, you know, Jason, you should play that tape to the end. And if I reframe it now for just a minute, where if I did consume alcohol, like right now, today, the challenge wouldn't be what happens right now. The challenge isn't what takes place if I have just one drink. The challenge comes from, you know, who I was 8 years ago isn't the same person I am today. And if I'm used to, I'll make it up, I'll just say, if I'm used to drinking a 6-pack of beer, I don't know, in one sitting, then if I immediately assume, well, since I'm the same Jason as I was then as I am now, I can pick up and I can drink a case of beer today. And my rationale from that would be because Jason of the past also drank a case of beer. Therefore, the two are the same and I should be able to do that. And so while I'm only having one drink today, if I play the tape to the end, what ends up happening is I immediately jump in because that's my alcoholic brain just thinking, oh yeah, it's been a drought for 8 years and now it's party time. And now I'm going to pour it on thick. I'm going to grab a case of beer and I'm going to celebrate. And if I were to do that, my body isn't the same body as it was then. You know, I've been to the gym a bunch of times and I've run around the block and rode my bike, but that doesn't make me 8 years more healthier. That just makes me 8 years more older. And my brain is not factoring in that I don't have the same elasticity. I don't have the same ability to recover. I don't have the same tenacity, if you will. But the alcoholic brain doesn't factor in any of that. The alcoholic brain is the one that manufactured those arguments with my ex-girlfriend, deliberately getting us to the point where we have an argument, or getting that, you know, losing the job, losing the girl. It was never my fault. And I would have this big ego and I would use this big show of bravado in order to help win this story, or in order to help convince myself that I need to go out and celebrate, or I need to go out and sulk or whine or complain. And I would surround myself with other people who would also celebrate or sulk or whine or complain. And if the community I'm surrounding myself with is not coming from an accountability standpoint, or if I'm not surrounding myself with the right people or the right, having a solid foundation, if you will, then I'm never going to break that cycle. And it makes it harder and harder. So these pillars of having a moral compass that faces north, having this solid foundation, having an open communication, all of these things help mitigate that hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And all of these things help take away 3% of the stress, 2% of the stress. It helps eliminate that chunk so that I don't get to that anxiety point, or when I do get to that anxious moment, that it's not nearly as bad. It becomes manageable because I know I'm having a meeting in the next, you know, on Tuesday that's coming up at noon, or that's 6 p.m. on Friday, or what have you. And if I were to start consuming alcohol or other drugs, these things don't get better, because I don't want to say I haven't gotten better. I've gotten stronger. It hasn't gotten easier. But I've started to fill my life with other joys. I've started to fill my life with pure joy, with something that's of sustenance. You know, there's no amount of 6-packs that made me feel better. There's no amount of 6-packs that made me taller or more genuine of a person. It never made me feel well rested or fulfilled. Alcohol's not meant to be a meal, if you know what I mean. Like, there were parts in my, at one point I was spending more money on alcohol than I was on food in a month. And it was completely normal. I can't do that today. You know, my brain and my body are not like that anymore. And if I were to tarnish, excuse me, if I were to assume then I could pick up right where I left off in the quantity that I would consume. That'd be the fastest way for me to get a heart attack. That'd be the fastest way for me to run my body to the ground, to, get my blood pressure really high, or I'd probably start eating salty and fatty foods and eating pizza every day of the week and getting poutine. I don't know. I'm making it up now. But if I'm going out of my way and I'm spending all this time and effort and energy and money, I'm probably going to be broke. So when I say play the tape to the end, holistically, it might be one drink. It might just be one, but it's not the one that's going to be the issue. It's going to be the Jason 3 weeks from now who's built up that sense of bravado and confidence, where that ego has crept its way back in. And it's reached the point now where I'm now assuming that I can do this and I'm Superman somehow. And one thing leads to another. And pretty soon I'm a statistic. I'm just a number where I don't make it. I relapse. I fall apart. I make bad choices. And then I don't wake up one day, and I don't want to, I can't imagine that. I don't want that. What I want is to celebrate life. What I want is a outstanding life. And I'm not going to get there by having an alcoholic brain or stinking thinking. I'm not able to do that by limiting my view. If I have a singular view on life, and if I'm not growing, if I'm not challenging myself, if I'm not holding myself accountable, and that's where supportive community comes in. So just one drink, despite how simple and easy it sounds, to me it means more. It means more than that. There's more at stake than just one drink. It's not and that's the dichotomy of the normal person's point of view of that same one drink versus what it means to an alcoholic. I am an alcoholic. I am in recovery. I might have 8 years under my belt, but I've heard stories from in meetings where someone says, I was out and I had a stressful day and I was on my way home, and before I knew it, I blinked and I walked into a liquor store and I came out with a 6-pack. I hadn't been there in years, but it had become such a habit in their brain and their mind that it tricked them into thinking it was something normal to do. When you're under stress, you just go buy a 6-pack. It's a knee-jerk reaction. And despite having years of sobriety under their belt, they still found themselves in that old habit. So even after years of spending time building new habits, getting a supportive community, working on our stressors, eliminating that hungry, angry, lonely, and tired, anybody is susceptible, even now. That's where one thing by itself isn't going to be the solution, but it's in balance of a bunch of other things. So it might be simple by saying it's just one drink and only one drink. You can do it. You're normal now, Jason. You're fine. While that's true, I am still here. That doesn't mean that it's acceptable. It doesn't mean that it meets my standard that I have for myself. It doesn't mean that it's gonna, what is it? Do you ever watch Napoleon Dynamite, where they're saying, like, vote for Pedro because all of your dreams will come true? And when I think about the promise that's given to me for, you can have just one drink, you'll be fine, don't worry. I flash back, I'm like, one drink isn't going to make all my dreams come true. What's going to make my dreams come true is hard work, dedication, passion, the fire and zest for life. I don't just want a life, I want a real life. I want a true life. And I don't want that to include alcohol or any other drugs. I want to find a way to get there, and I can't do that by consuming just one drink. I'm not going to consume one because I don't want to have 30. I don't want to wake up one day. I don't want to be a statistic. And so for me, just one drink doesn't mean one drink. It means throwing in the towel. It means giving up more. It means starting back at zero. It means that I am zero. And I'm not equating my life to being recovery, but my life means more to me because of my recovery. My life, I've found that, oh, hey, kitty. My cat just woke up from his nap. I've, I've come to have this sense of appreciation for the challenges of my life. I've found a better way of looking at things. I've found perspective. I've found a sense of accountability. I hold myself to a standard that I wouldn't have normally have if it weren't for recovery. I would have given up a long time ago. Thanks to the people that have believed in me, and thanks for the people that have pushed me harder, I've now gotten to the place where I am today because of that support, because of the accountability, because I gave up my singular view of how things should be. As soon as I let go of my resentment, as soon as I let go of that expectation, that gave me the room to have the capacity to grow and believe. And that came from giving, I don't want to say giving up alcohol, but it's no longer tolerating the life that I was living because of alcohol, because of those low standards. There's more to my life than that. This is awesome, friends. Thank you so much for stopping by. And thanks for listening to my rant about just one drink. I wish it was something as simple as, don't drink, you'll be fine. There's more to it than that. And I know it doesn't appeal to everybody. Sometimes I'll get questions from listeners, from viewers, and they're like, Jason, what did you mean by this? When you say normal people, what's a normal person? And I thought that was hilarious because I was like, wait a minute, hold on. What if I never explained what a normal person was? Technically, to a normal person, they would never know what a normal person is because they're not struggling with alcohol or addiction. They're at that level where they're like totally oblivious about, I'm not saying they don't know what it's like, but they're curious and they're asking questions. So I need to take that opportunity to share and be a part of that conversation. You know, somebody's asking questions, it's because they want to know more. Awesome, friends. Okay, if you're interested in learning more, if you're interested in listening, thank you. If you're watching the videos, I got them up on Facebook and YouTube. If you enjoy watching, this is there. If you love listening, I've got the podcast set up. And the podcast, I'm actually going to go and show you here. Hold on. I'm going to flip over my screen. If you're watching the live stream or the replay, I've got a link at the bottom of the page, and it's sobriety.live/now. And if you go to that page, it actually brings you to this post here. And this post is like a list of links. And the list of links has, in case you need to get a hold of me or shoot me a message, I'm on Messenger, or you can snail mail. That's totally cool too. I've also got the podcast in case you want to click the link and listen. I've got a sobriety video guide. If you love watching the videos, you can click the subscribe to wait for the latest videos. Or if you're a reader, if you're one of them readers, and you love reading blogs, I've got the links to the most recent blog posts. And if you enjoy meditation, calm.com, I got a link in my email from them, and they were just saying, we're giving away 30 days. So if you want to get 30 days of calm.com, I get absolutely nothing for this, but if you click on it, you can get 30 days of calm.com. I've also got some of my popular blog posts here about reaching out for help and how I became an addict. These are really interesting reads if that's what you're into, or if you want to check out some free courses from Coursera. They even have a whole wide selection on mental health. I highly encourage you to check it out because it's free until the end of the year. But if you love listening, if you love watching, or if you love reading, I've got all the content from each of these videos broken down in those areas. In the meantime, friends, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. If you have topics or if you want to reach out, let me know what's going on. Let me know how you're doing, how you holding up. We're almost at the end of 2020. I want to thank you for being a part of this conversation. Thank you for sharing your time with me. I look forward to hearing from you or seeing you in another video. But in the meantime, you take care. You have fun. Bye.